In this video, we're going to go over how to set up a file and get it sliced using GrabCAD print for our Stratasys F170 3D printer. So first thing, you'll go down to the search bar and type GrabCAD for GrabCAD print. If it doesn't show up there, you should be able to go to the company portal and download as well. I have GrabCAD opened up here. So you can see in GrabCAD, it looks like a pretty standard slicer, and if you are familiar with any of our other slicers, the view controls are very similar. Right mouse button, and then we move the mouse and we get our revolve and rotate. If we click and hold on the mouse wheel, we get pan, and then you can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. To start, I'm going to go down here to the bottom right where it says Add Printer. And right here, you're going to need to, if you don't already have it recorded, you're going to have to go to the 3D printer and record the IP address and punch that in here right now. Here we have our Stratasys F170 3D printer. When you come over to the printer, right now the light is turned on inside the build chamber. That might not always be the case. You can see the power button here, and there are two USB ports. And then we have our touch screen, which is mainly where we do our control. If you have a print to remove, you can simply open up the door, and the lever in front of the build plate, if you press that down, that releases the build plate. And then you can take this out and remove the print from it elsewhere. And if you are looking to get another print started quickly, you can put another build plate right in place and lock that in. I'm going to leave that print there for the time being. When I close the door, it wants to know if the print tray is ready for another job. I'm going to say no. And all we're going to do at the moment is take a look at how to get the network connectivity. So that's here under the settings. It's telling me that I need to do a tip calibration, which happens from time to time. We're just going to accept that's the case for now. And where you need to go if you need to connect to your computer is right here under the network. And this IPv4 address is what you're going to have to type in on your slicer program. When we come back over later, you can click on this button right here to see what prints have been sent and select prints from there. So now that we have our IP address, we can put that in right here under the add printer. So 10.0.5.234 is what it said on our printer, and we hit connect, and that should take a second, and then find that printer. You can flip through this if you want. I'm going to skip the tour, and that should change our build plate here to basically the exact dimensions of what our F170 has. View controls should still all be the same. So at this point, we're ready to drop something in there. So I'm going to go up here, and we're going to click on Add Model. And I have my example saved right here. And GrabCAD is a little different from our other slicers. In the fact that we can't actually make a whole lot of changes to things. We can still do the rotations and scaling and things like that. But one thing that GrabCAD does all of the time, and the Stratasys printers do all the time, is they're going to print everything with supports. And we won't really get to choose that. But anyway, once you have your object selected, you can come over here, and we have an orient button. And I am going to see what auto orient does. And that is kind of what I expected there, that we should have that flat surface on the bottom. That's probably the best way to print this right here, but you can also manually orient just like you can in other slicers. But this does most of the work for you. You only have a couple of choices really to make. All of your buttons here are on the right-hand side. And I usually just scroll down through here and take a look at what everything says. So let's see here on my tray settings. This is a good thing to double check and make sure that you are okay with the filament that's in there. Right now, this is ABS that is carbon fiber filled, so that's the ABS CF10. And then this is the support material, which is standard for all the time. And then this is the tip that it's using as well. And then the slice height right here. I typically don't change any of those things, but it's always good to double check and make sure you're using the filament that you actually want to be using. The model settings. This is probably the only place that you're likely to change, and you can change your infill style and also density. If you want something strong, you, in my experience, are best with this sparse high density. As opposed to the solid. Sometimes solid makes sense, but it seems like this one actually does better if you want something extremely strong. With that being said, even the low density, sparse infill style, things that are printed on the Stratasys end up being much more durable than anything printed on PLA from any of our enders. You shouldn't really have to do a whole lot besides if you want to move this and fill up the build plate. And then once you are satisfied with what's on your screen here, you can simply hit the print button and that will get sent directly to our printer. So after you send your file over to the Stratasys, and you'll come on over, and since we have this print in here right now, we'll open it up and we'll remove the build plate. So push that lever down and then lift the whole build plate out. And I'm just gonna take that and set it to the side. And we often will have an extra build plate just up on top or on the shelf right next to the printer, and put that right back in place. Make sure that it seats down into the grooves, and you should be able to get that to lock in place. And that should pull flat and make sure that it is actually in place and down the way it should be. Once you close it, it should ask if the tray is ready for a job, and when you have it cleared, you can do that. And it's not always the very top one, so make sure that you actually take a look at the file that you sent and select it. And then once you select it, you should see all the statistics on it there, how long it should take, and what material it is, slice height, things like that. And this is asking if I want to do an automatic tip calibration before the build. Typically when this comes up, I do it, but for the sake of speed, I'm going to just skip it. And this is just making sure that the previous print is not there. And if we wanted to, we can actually take this and drag it and move it to another place on the build plate at this point. So I'm going to put it right back there and hit print. And then the printer should start heating up and get into position. And this is not a super fast printer. It's not slow, but compared to our enders, it's probably a little bit slower of a printer than they are. But the quality that you get with the Stratasys and the strength that you get with the Stratasys make it more than worthwhile when you have an application that needs strength.